So I'm gonna, Karen, if you'd like to call the meeting to order and all that, or Dave is still the vice chair, he could do it as well.
I'll do it. Let's see, what time is it? I call the Townsend Affordable Housing um, meeting to order today at 4:07. May I have a roll call?
Of
Burley Napier present.
Veronica Cal present.
David Worland present.
Got Kieran Meehan, administrator.
All right. So Kieran, seems like you have an agenda.
I do. Yeah, always in life.
So why don't you kick it off?
Sure. So, 1.3, we do not have any additions or deletions. I've been a little, as we sort of noted earlier, a little shortchanged on time. So I owe this group certainly a more substantial level of updates to come. But that'll be, farther down the road. Meeting business for us, I'll quickly just walk through the agenda for what we have to cover. Our forest cutting plan, website posting, the Haynes Road encroachment letter topic, the consultancy with JM Goldson for the boiler concept design, trust parcel discussion on the sale and RFP process there, ARPA funding, housing trust fund account renaming, if you will. And lastly, a Lois Lane affordable housing unit sale update to share with you guys. Some of this may have been covered in the meeting materials I sent out earlier. It's sort of a few packets of information there, as well as some notes again for things I owe this group at our next meeting, with some updates and recaps of adventures I've had for housing stuff recently. So,
good.
Okay.
So we can kick back to 2.1, which is the forest cutting plan. Not a ton to discuss here other than I'll be posting the approved forest cutting plans online on our Townsend Affordable Housing Trust website. Veronica shared those documents with me for the Hickory Road and Haynes Road plans. Katie from the town accountant's office, who is going to be departing Townsend next week, did not have any specific info on these. But my greatest concern is that any revenue generated from the cut, that we make sure it goes into our trust account for this group to sort of see its usage as such. So,
Good. And council weighed in on that, as we know.
And Kieran, I would like the contract with Kyle Anderson to go to the accountant and the treasurer, so that those funds are redirected properly. And I would also like us at some point, maybe our next meeting, to invite the treasurer and whoever's doing accounting at that point, so that we're all on the same page. And, we had this meeting before and it really, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. That's all. Because I'm not so clear that people really understand things.
No,
Everybody
point well
included.
Point well taken. Has there been any correspondence with the forester in this long interim that anyone knows about?
not from me. I don't know if there's been any sort of side email chatter.
Well, but this forest cutting plan will be delivered to him, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So hopefully he'll respond positively and we still have a forester. And if not,
so.
we know we have options. Certainly, there's one right here in Townsend.
Yeah.
Okay.
And ideally, it's something that kicks off in the late fall, early winter, because I think that's the recommended timeline for cutting. The tough winter snow makes it challenging, but again, once the critters and birds have sort of moved on for a bit, it's a good time to do it. And when the trees aren't, full of foliage. So,
and the ground is hard.
Yeah, that certainly helps. So.
Okay.
Okay.
So not a ton there, but again, I'll bring the accountant and treasurer and try to include them in our next meeting. I don't know who the accountant's going to be. It sounds like a consulting group for now. I think it's Elizabeth Bracchia is her name, but I will delve into her feedback on a further into the agenda. 2.6 will be more about her. So,
Okay.
2.2 is the Haynes Road Property Town Council drafting encroachment letter. I have not heard any more about that letter from Adam, but he was in the sort of the throes of town meeting and such last that I touched base with him, and I know we had some town council hours as well in May, but I can't remember where that left off. So
I would recommend just checking back in with him.
okay.
I did meet with him on Tuesday, but further down we'll discuss. But I didn't even think to mention the encroachment letter that time around. So I was more involved with the making sure that the parcels get posted at the registry. So we'll talk about that later. So
2.3 is really just there for us to be mindful of potentially working with a consulting agency like JM Goldson for RFP design. Again, their numbers are right around $7,000 for a mixed use or affordable housing RFP design. And that did not include the public outreach steps and such. They're just waiting for us for further marching orders. And they're pretty reactive once we know we have funding, available to compensate them. And if we're under $10,000, we do not have to go out to bid. So
Okay.
that's sort of the
okay.
segmenting of that project, if you will. So, any questions?
Well, we need to raise some money.
Yeah.
Not a question.
I think we need a work session where we can sit down and go through the RFP, through all of that and just talk. It's hard to do it, I think, on when you're alone or on Zoom. That's my opinion. But
Yeah,
I agree.
I did take the Winchester RFP that Veronica had shared with me for Glenwood Ave, which was an affordability housing project they were trying to do in town in Winchester. Started to play around with it with Townsend type info. I think I shared that in the meeting materials. But it does get into a pretty detailed level of, of butters and aerial shots and such. So I think we'd want to determine how deep we want to make this RFP and what sort of the goals of the RFP are. So,
yeah.
But, are we overthinking it, for the Haynes Road and we have the Warren Road, parcels, or what are our, do we just want 100K and make our lives easier, or how do we really want to gear up for it? So.
Okay, I think before are we on 2.4 here, or are we on 2.3, or are we munging them together?
I was munching them together. So.
Okay, so what's our next? I want to make sure I talk about this this is the right time then. I met with Adam during office hours on Tuesday. He is getting it will be on either the select board July 1st or July 1 and 14, 15th agenda for the select board to vote to sign the deed, because they're the ones transferring it to the trust. So there is no question about whether or not it's to be transferred to us. There's no vote needed because the article transfers those properties directly to the trust. But
So is this a formality?
Pardon me?
So this is a formality?
It's when you sell something or transfer something, the first owners, and that was the town, has to sign that they have transferred it over. There's no vote needed because the town meeting vote took care of that, but we have to vote to sign the document is what it
Understood.
comes down to. It's a technicality. So, and then Adam can register it at the Registry of Deeds. Once he registers it, then we will do the water easement. He has that prepared as well, and I sent it to Kieran. If you want to send that to everybody, feel free.
Okay.
But
Can I ask you a quick question about that? So
Yeah.
in terms of timing, so the deed is signed on the 1st or the 15th. Registering is very quick, does online. That could happen the next day, right?
correct.
But the water easement, that also has to be signed. Does that then get pushed to the next Board of Selectmen meeting? When does that happen?
No, what he said is once the properties are registered to us, we're the ones that voted on the easement because we're the owners of the property.
Right.
But for formality, it has to be in the deed that it is ours, and then we can post the easement. All the votes and things that happened are all fine. It's just that it never got recorded.
So this looks like it wouldn't go out to be sold until August 1st, something like that.
I
Does that
think
sound
that
right?
is the earliest. So the RFP for the sale of the property, we probably want to work on in July so
Right.
that we're ready to roll out for sale in August. Does that sound right, Kieran? Do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be the right sort of marching orders to get, I think you'd want to have the RFP designed and checked and approved by town council,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's ready for, the big leagues, if you will. So
Right. The other piece on the water easement, and you had mentioned this to me, Kieran, and Adam said the exact same thing. He said, you really should have a Mylar drawing of this.
Yeah.
He said this shouldn't be hand drawn by the water superintendent. And he said it is uncertain that the registry will accept the hand drawn picture. I think, 50 years ago they would have, but in this day and age, he said he can't predict whether they'll push back or not. So we may want to talk to the water superintendent to see if he could get us an official drawing for that. And is that something you do, Kieran, or is that something that we do, I guess? The conversation with the water superintendent.
yeah, so I can certainly take the drawing and say, could you get us a digitized version of this? Similar to, I'll reference the Kimley Horn, survey that we had done for Kids Country.
I think that is exactly what the Mylar that Adam had in his hand when he told me you need something like this.
Yeah.
So
And that shouldn't come as a surprise to a water superintendent. I mean, to anybody really these days. Like, I love a good hand drawing myself, but it's got to be something that is easily legible for all and then can be transferred over for different accessibility reasons. And hand drawings, you can't do that. So,
yeah. So, okay. So if you would check into that, Kieran, and then we can, at the end of the meeting, set up a date when we could do a work session to work on the RFP and also talk about how to roll this out to the public, with Goldson. Like, what's the timeline on that? Is it RFP or is it public? And I know they had different, J.M. Goldson had different prices in that. So,
yeah, their pricing, there was RFP design for a fee, and then there was RFP review or respondent review for a price, and then public forums to share with whomever might be interested for a price. So it's really kind of an a la carte menu for how you want to go from there. So
I really think that, we should wait until we have the properties registered in our name and all of that done. And we have to sell the property to have funds to function.
Right.
But I really think that we should do public outreach before we get too far into the RFP for the developing.
Public outreach in which sense? Like this is
Yeah.
what we're doing, or
Or this is what we're thinking of. What are your thoughts on it? That's what I'd like. I think that's what we need to have the community weigh in on.
I
okay,
agree.
yeah,
What
that would
form would
be
that take?
well. It'd be really like hosting a meeting, a public forum session, and then you'd probably want a week or two in advance of that to advertise and really get some,
Hmm.
the get people to be positive and negative and encourage them to show up, and then host,
Mm-hmm.
and then provide a recap of that event and post it on the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust website. So
Okay.
we had 10 people show up, and here's the feedback we solicited, and we offered a survey, maybe a 5-question survey that I bet I can steal from another town. Say, this is what people said to us, like,
Yep,
rate
yep.
rate affordable housing. Here's an open text box to tell me that you don't like my polo shirt, and here's a space to say, if you think you'd rather it be done with something else to have happen there.
Okay. So I see that forum happening in the August-September timeframe, not.
Yes. Yeah, summertime's hard to really be fair to people, to be honest. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
and you'd rather be slow and methodical about the process than rush it and have it blow up in your face. So,
Mhm.
So the RFP for the development, we're probably looking at over the winter developing that and
Mhm.
getting it out next spring or early winter. I don't know.
Yeah, early winter, middle winter, if you're looking at like January, because then
Mhm.
developers might be looking for a project,
Yeah.
and they know it's probably a full calendar year from acceptance of the RFP to get state funding.
Mhm.
So that's how they'll be thinking 2027 shovels in the ground, for this type of project. So
Okay. All right. Um,
it feels like forever from now, but time flies. So
right. So the August, September, October is public outreach. Um, all right.
Mhm.
Does that take care of 2.3 and 2.4, do you think?
yeah, 2.4 was really just, like you said, the way to get funding quickly. And there are a couple different ways to do a sale of land, a land disposition, and we could really simplify our own RFP and sell the parcel and have a quick 100K.
Yeah.
And like that would be a way to ensure you have funding to pay Goldson for the services, to pay my wages, and what's becoming a pretty tight little budget here for the town.
Right.
Like
Yes, exactly. So the sooner the better. So do we want to set up a date now for an RFP work session?
We can.
Sure.
Oh,
The sooner
sure.
we can move this property, in my opinion, the better, for exactly what Karen just said. I mean, it's obvious.
Right.
So, yeah, why not?
When are you guys available? Beverly and
Um,
David and
We're
Karen?
around a lot of July, right, Bev?
Sí, señor.
Process.
So
Not
what about the week of the 7th, like the 8th, 9th, 10th?
I can't do the 7th, but after that, sure.
Yeah, I can't do the 7th either, but 8th, 9th, or 10th. I
How
could.
about
Works for me. Bev?
Yeah, that week is open for me.
Okay. Any particular time, good or bad, for you?
How about Thursday, the 10th at 4? I mean, that seems to be working for us pretty well. How about you, Kieran, though? What days are you in the office?
I'm not around the 10th. So for me, it'd be a week later, unfortunately, if that was an option.
Are
17th.
you around anytime during that week, like the 8th or the 9th?
The 8th, I'll be here. The 9th, I'm trying to figure that out with Nelson currently.
We could do the 8th.
The 8th is
I can
good.
do the 8th.
Yeah.
Let's do the 8th, 4 o'clock, unless you want to pick another time.
How's 1 o'clock even? I'm thinking of Nelson and working hours.
Are you doing,
I
you
mean,
said
not
1 o'clock?
Nelson, Kieran.
1 o'clock?
Yeah, one's fine with me.
Okay, let's do the 8th at 1 p.m.
All right.
Good.
Sounds
And
good.
make sure Cindy knows.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what her schedule is either, so.
Well,
Okay.
at least there'll be the three of us, but yeah, let's make sure she's
Yeah.
aware of that date.
And that's for the property RFP.
And so are we going to meet in person for this one? Is that,
I think so.
No, what? Yes? Okay.
I think it's easier to me.
Yeah,
I do
okay.
too.
Okay, can you reserve the room?
Yeah, I'll
Sure.
put the request out there tomorrow morning to see if we can get that space.
Okay,
Should be quiet. A lot of people are on holiday after the 4th of July. So
right. Okay.
Okay, good.
That
Next.
sounds- All right. And that way, as soon as everything gets posted, we can put out that RFP.
mhm.
Oh, all right.
I think I had a typo because there is no 2.5, so it's really 2.6 is next up. So tells you how I'm trying to figure out money for this kids country playground. It's going to be the death of me. So apologies. So there is no 2.5, so 2.6 on the agenda is essentially trust fund naming conventions for that account. And I tried to share an update that I got from what I think is our new town accountant.
Actually, she's been there as the consulting certified accountant for a couple years now. Because Katie's our assistant and she was working towards being a certified accountant,
Okay.
a certified municipal accountant. And so the town needed to have a consultant, and Elizabeth has been there for at least a year and a half. So anyway,
Cool.
is that the mail that you sent us?
Yeah.
Um,
Because my request started with Melissa, who's our treasurer, to say, hey, can we just change the name of this account? And then it sort of spun off into a couple different avenues. And she touched on the money going back to the federal government if they claw it back, which isn't really a surprise to us.
right.
But also, who gets the interest was my question I thought of Dave on. Do we get to hang on to it? And I guess I found myself a little more confused than originally already was.
I think Adam made that clear that we don't. Right?
I don't think anybody really knows, is what it comes down to.
All right.
But, whatever happens, happens.
Well, regardless, we need more than the interest to be able to function, at the very least, to be able to pay for the design. There's the $5 or $6 grand is not enough. And then there's Kieran who needs to get paid. So,
Yeah,
right?
There's that.
There is that.
Yeah. So I don't think it's worth dwelling on. It would be nice if we could keep it, but I think it's going to be what it's going to be.
I'm with you on that. So,
Yeah. On principle, I'd like to think that we get to keep the interest, but principles aren't always there these days. So
Yeah.
So off we go selling property and hopefully we're successful with that. So,
Yep.
and
Right.
so what are you thinking about as far as renaming it goes? I mean, I think it should stay in the Unibank. I'm pretty sure the monies from the ARPA account are just going to sit in that.
Hmm.
Because they haven't pulled them out yet, as far as I know. And I think it's going to wind up. I mean, it's hard to say, but I know Nelson hasn't really gotten a response from the Treasury on the inquiry about what exactly is going on with that. And we discussed it in the meeting on Tuesday, this past Tuesday. We met with Roselli and went over the audit for the town, which is where this was, you know, pointed out. And I asked a lot of questions, and I'm still uncertain. So, anyway.
Yeah, I think just, I mean, for me, my head went to Affordable Housing Trust, hyphen Townsend.
Mhm.
You can, it could be whatever name you want it to be to me. So, uh, whatever folks are comfortable with. So,
I'm good with whatever everybody's good with. Um,
and not something we have to, if we could always put that on our working session agenda, just, how to name our account. And that could be something we kind of put down the pen and paper as a group and then come to a final sort of idea, if you will. So,
sounds good to me.
Rose by any other name. Right? Okay.
yeah, I mean, I
Okay,
think just
let's do
getting
that.
the ARPA off it is really the most important piece to me. So,
Yes, I think so. So, all right.
2.7 is the Lois Lane topic, and I just wanted to kind of close that loop because it looked like that sale of that property had identified a qualified buyer,
Mhm.
which I thought was important for us just for our own discussion point. That it looks like it's going to stay within the affordable parameters,
Hey,
hopefully. So,
good.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
a good
good.
thing. Yeah.
Um, can I add something on here while we're talking about affordability?
Sure.
What about the question on raising the prices on the affordable units at Turnpike Village?
Yeah, that's you know, I don't know who oversees that. I mean,
I
and
I think it's the housing authority.
Hmm.
Because it isn't ours. I don't think it is anyway. That's really the housing. If you look at the Venn diagram that we put together in like March of 23, that's, they're we do the development, the things that we've talked about already in this meeting. But they're the ones that are in charge of making sure that things stay affordable. And that would include looking at Atwood Acres as well. And someone needs to get on that, because 2029 is going to come up faster than what we think. And we really in town need a functioning housing authority. And I don't know how we get that because right now nobody's coming forward
Oh, boy.
for those sorts of positions. And we really do need someone who has that mindset there. I mean, Jack and Natalie are good, but we need at least one other person. And it's not the trust, it's them. And I don't want to be on both for
Would
sure.
Laura Schifrin be willing to be on both?
Well, Lori used to be on the housing authority. Maybe she's,
Right. That's what
maybe
I'm asking.
I haven't talked to her about that and she hasn't mentioned it.
It's a thought.
It is a thought because she used to do that.
Hmm.
I don't know if she wants to at this point. But
Maybe she'd have some thoughts if she didn't want to do it. Who might?
well, that's true. So,
And it's interesting to think of what is like who's the point person for MCO and the stop to have them raising the rent.
yeah.
I mean, right? Like to just say rents haven't gone up and recently, I'm like, yeah, but inflation has, and people's budgets have gotten tighter and tighter. It's kind of, I don't know.
It's not an ideal time to be raising rent on affordable units, but we are not it's the how I am sure it's the housing authority who is to be running point on that.
Well, yeah, an MCO referenced the planner. I'm like, well, the town doesn't have a planner. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
is it if it's me, then my head is to say no on raising rent until we have more information. So
Right. Have you talked to Nelson about this? Has the planner thing? Because what is probably going to wind up, and I think given the budget that we have, but of course we have funds in for consulting for land use. I believe I think it's maybe 30,000. I'd have to
yeah, I
look.
guess I was a self advocate when it came to that to say, why don't you split that, save the money, work with Beth, whose responsibilities have gone up in her world. Mine have as well, just because there's not enough time in my role, to be brutally honest,
Right.
to be successful. Like 18 and a half hours is not enough.
No.
And not just for housing, but just for the grant stuff I'm doing. Like
We have a lot of grants right now.
you do. And, just looking at like Kids Country, the highway one, the Brookline Street project that's coming, the other couple other grants that I hit on one for the fiber optic one. I know this isn't Beverly and David's world, but Veronica, you guys are going to hear it because
The records, that
Yeah.
grant
yeah,
that we just got for digitizing records.
yeah,
Who's managing that? I would like to, well, anyway, that needs to be a discussion. So,
yeah. And I think it's to be brutally honest with you, I think you're better off keeping that in house rather than paying a consultant to come in who doesn't know what the three of us, myself, Colby, and Beth are doing.
right.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's true. That is true. So,
but
yeah.
and I think Nelson was warming up to the idea.
Okay.
But
Well, we have to wait till the override, July 29th.
yeah, or else I'm on the street anyway. So here we are. So
Hard to say. Hopefully not, but
No,
hard to
hopefully
say.
not.
but we'll
Okay.
see. So
I think that I really do think that's something that the housing authority has to weigh in on. And I don't know how you do that when you don't have a quorum.
Ugh.
yeah, it's a good question. So
Anyway, okay.
um,
Thank you for the update on Lois Lane. I'm really glad they found someone, that a qualified buyer came forward.
yeah, I mean, you still have a few more hurdles to get through to have it close out properly, but it sounded like it was headed in the right direction. So
Good. Okay.
otherwise, I owe you guys a few other things. So that's on me, and just trying to find some time in July here to do that. So
What do you owe us?
a recap of MHP.
Oh, yeah. Was it good?
It was good. It was interesting. Some of the housing topics are way out of our world, but some
Yeah.
are very relatable and could be really useful. I owe an agenda item for like board organization. So I know
I
that
keep forgetting about that.
yeah.
Okay.
But just got to make sure I just put it on the agenda so that we do it.
And I review your agendas, and it hasn't like jumped to the top of my head, like, oh, well, we don't have a chair at the moment.
And
Anyway,
yeah, I know the town clerk's office is about to lose their assistant, so life might get a little busier for them down there. So
not to mention the 33 public records requests that I got on the 18th for me alone.
Oh my God.
So-
Why?
33?
Oh, yeah,
Why?
you got me. No idea.
I got a
Is
good
this
one for
all
me
from
too.
all from the same party?
Well, hard to say. It's from Cantaloupe Antelope, Zucchini Marsupial, Numerical Genius 1952,
Wow.
et cetera, et cetera.
All dear
So,
friends of yours, right?
all very close friends.
Yeah. No, it sounds like they're vegetarians anyway.
Good thing.
It's like Seymour Butts. I always think of The Simpsons. And my mom used to hate when we would talk up like because we watched The Simpsons and it'd be like Seymour Butts. She'd be like, "Don't you get that?"
Well, you can see them all on the town clerk's page. Harrison is actually doing a great job cataloging them and getting them out there and all. So if you go to the town clerk's page on the website and go to public records and just scroll down, you'll see. So
So I get a few things for our next meeting, which maybe that'll be one of our agenda items for that July 8th working session is when to have our next larger meeting down the road.
okay.
Yeah.
Probably in July. What do you think? Right?
For
Should we
our
do it
a larger meeting.
Yeah. Should we do it in July or should we jump into August?
I don't
Or do you
know.
want to wait for the 8th and just see what
Let's
comes
wait
out
for
of
the
that?
8th and see how the summer's falling out. I know I'll be gone in late July for a little bit, and then I'll be gone a few days in August just to go home, to go through home. This is home, but to go to my hometown, to go through my mother's stuff. We need to do that. So anyway,
right.
with my
So
sister.
yeah, Kieran, we'll wait till the 8th and then we'll kind of figure out.
Yeah, I don't have everything set yet. So
Good.
That was
Anything
it
else?
for us. So
all right.
Wow. 15 minutes ahead of schedule.
Whoa.
Perfect. All right.
So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved at 4:45 p.m.
All those in
Beautiful.
favor?
Second, we need a second.
I second.
Veronica Kell, yes.
Dave
Beverly
Worland,
Baker,
yes.
yes.